I don't know about you, but I've been seeing these types of pants absolutely all over my For You page, my Pinterest, my everything. And to be honest, I absolutely love them. I think it's one of those pants that you can either really love or really hate, but I think they're so, so good. They're comfortable. They're cute and you can wear it every day. Honestly, it's perfect for summer, winter. I actually bought a similar pair about 1 year ago without knowing it was trendy. I just thought they were cute and comfy, so that's why I got them and I wear them non-stop. They're amazing. And Aiclo just released a very similar pattern to these, so you know it's time for me to make them. I'm really excited. I bought a really nice fabric, so let's see what I can make. Hi, welcome to Aiclo. My name is Fabiana, and today I'm going to show you how you can make a pattern for these types of pants with your own size, or maybe if you have a brand, you can make the pattern as well. And I promise you, the pattern will only take you a couple of minutes. It is so simple, so quick, and you'll end up with an accurate and professional sewing pattern. I think that's about all, so let's just get started. Okay, so to make the pattern, you have to head to aiclo.com, and this is the first page that's going to pop up once you get there. And I usually just go here straight to Design Tools, and that'll take you to the entire pattern library from Aiclo. As you can see, there's a ton of patterns that you can try out. There's blouses, dresses, jumpsuits, pants, almost anything you can think of. But as you know, we're making some pants, so I'm going to head into the pants section, and we're going to be trying out this new drop crotch pants, and click on Create. And as soon as you do, you'll see an avatar pop up. I already have my default avatar set with my measurements, but if you don't, you just have to click over here and you can create your new avatar using a photo of yourself, maybe selecting a standard size if you'd like, or even entering your measurements manually. You only need 4 specific measurements, so it's super quick, but I already have mine that I'm going to use, which is this one. And you can see how the pants are looking on my size or on my body. In Aiclo, you can modify the pattern and the measurements however you'd like. And if you go here into advanced mode, you'll see that you can modify the exact number of the measurements and a lot of parameters just by sliding the sliders over here. I'm not going to be changing much because I actually really like the fit on this one. So here in style, I like the length already, so I'm going to leave it as it is. For the waist, it's mid-rise right now. You can make it high-rise, or you can make it low rise. I think I'm going to go ahead and make it low rise. I really like how these types of pants fit on me, and I would like to try out and make one myself, so I'm going to leave that like that. And for the bottom, you can use an elasticized loose hem, a wide leg hem, which also looks really nice, or customize it. I really like the wide hem, so I'm going to leave it like that. And the silhouette, which is basically how low you want the crotch to be. Let's see how it looks here. Yeah, I like it better like that, so I'm just going to leave it as it is. And if you want to change anything else, just go to advanced mode. For example, for the cuffs, you can see how wide or long you want them to be. And you can modify it here on the sliders. When you go over here to pattern, you can see the pattern pieces that you'll have. And in the fit map, you see how it'll fit. So for example, if it were to be red, it means it's going to be a little bit more tight on you, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But once you know you like how the pattern fits, you can just go ahead and save your project. And download your pattern. If you're going to buy new fabric for this pattern, I highly recommend this feature over here, which is the textile calculator. And here you can see how much fabric you'll need for your project. Usually the fabric I buy is 150 centimeters wide, so I select that. I select this too, and this lets me know how much fabric I'll need, so a little bit more than 2 meters. And now I can go ahead and download my pattern in the US letter formats. If you've watched any of our videos, you know that there's tons of formats that you can choose from, but I usually just go for letter size because that's the one I can print in a home printer, and I download it. Okay, so here I have all of my pattern pieces ready for me to sew. I'm just going to quickly show what pieces I've got. For the waistbands, there's a front yoke, a back yoke. We have 2 cuffs for the legs, and we have our 2 back panels and 2 front panels. As you might have seen already, for the yokes, I used a different type of fabric than for the rest of the pants because I chose a stretchy fabric for this, and I thought it would lay better around my hips and waist because it's a lot more stretchy. So let's just see how it goes, and this way I wouldn't need to add a zipper. I think I also need to add a little bit of elastic to the rest of the waist on the other fabrics, but I'm not sure yet, so let's just see how it goes and what I need to do for it to fit me best. The first thing I'm going to do is grab both of my yokes. I have to make sure that I have my notches cut on both already. And I'm going to assemble each pair. I will have 2 pairs of yokes. So I have my back. And the front would go like this. So I'm just going to sew them on the sides. I've pinned them in place, and I'm going to sew each side, leaving a 1 centimeter seam allowance. And for the rest of the pants, so the back and front panel, I'm just going to assemble them as I normally would any pattern for pants. So I'm going to sew them on the center front, center back, the inseam, and the sides. First, I'm going to attach them right sides together. So here I have one of the sides, and I'm going to line them up, making sure I align the notches. And I'm going to sew the sides first on both sides of the pants. Okay, so this is the seam I just made, so the side. Here I have my center front, my center back, and I'm just going to line both centers with the other panel. And I'm going to stitch them, leaving a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Here I have both of my waist panels, and I just pressed the seams open like this, and now I'm going to face both of them right sides together. We're doing this because we're going to close the upper waist. So we're going to sew around, leaving a 1 centimeter seam allowance. After doing that, I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to move the seam allowance towards any of the sides because I'm using the same fabric, and I'm going to press it onto the lining part of the facing. This will help the lining not like roll out towards the right side of the garment. Hi guys, so it's the next day, so I wanted to show you where I left off yesterday. We basically have our waist panel ready. I think the shorter side is the back and this is the front. As you might remember, I did select it to be a low-rise pant, so it'll be up to like here, I think. I have my two cuffs, which I've not done anything with, and I have my pants. I just have to sew the rest of the inseam, but it's looking like this. Right now it's super big because we have to make some gathering stitches to gather around the waist, and obviously we're going to add some elastic to the cuffs on the legs. And I'm also thinking of adding some straps so I can tie bows on the bottom. I've seen that a lot and I think it's really cute. I just haven't figured out yet how I'm going to do that, like sewing wise, but I don't think it's going to be too hard. Something I did do and I haven't mentioned is that I don't know why this fabric wouldn't stay put when I pressed the seams to the side. So I just decided to top stitch the seam allowance. That way it lies flatter. And I just did that for the side seams, the center front and the center back. Honestly, it's nothing you can actually tell unless you come really close to the pants, but it's something that just helps it look nicer from the inside. So the seam lays flat. So as I said, our next step would be to sew the inseam here and just make two gathering rows on the waistband. I'm going to do that so I can gather the waist and it'll start looking a little bit more like the pants we have in our inspiration. I would say the most important part here is to make sure that the center front and back seams align perfectly here on the inseam, and now I can just sew from one side to the other. Now I'm just going to zigzag stitch the entire raw edge, press it to the side and top stitch it like I did with the side and center front and back. Okay, so I fully closed the pants here, as you can see, and now I'm going to make two gathering rows on the waist. And to make some gathering stitches, you just have to make sure that you have a lower tension and a longer stitch setting. So I'm just going to, I think my longest length is 8, and I'm going to lower the tension. Right now it's in about 4 to 5. I'm going to lower it to 1. And I'm going to sew about 5 millimeters from the edge all around. Just make sure that you don't backstitch at the start nor the end of the stitch. I don't know if you can really tell, but I have my two gathering stitches and I'm just going to start gathering, grabbing both of the threads that are like on top, these two, and now just start gliding the fabric through the thread. Okay, so I just pinned everything. I'm going to sew all around, leaving a 1 centimeter seam allowance. And I'm going to make sure that I also zigzag stitch all of that because I don't want this fabric to fray. And after that, I think I can try it on to see how it's fitting on me. So I'm really excited about that. I wanted to show you how pretty the pants are looking. I'm so excited. They're just what I had in mind. This is how my waistband is looking right now. This is the front and the back. I have to admit, I already tried them on and they fit me perfectly. And now we're going to move on to the cuffs. As you can see, I have one ready here. It has some cute straps that you can tie and they add the most adorable detail, but they're obviously optional. You don't have to add those. You can even leave the hem all white if you want more white pants on the hem. But now I just have to do that over here. To attach the cuff with the elastic, I'm just going to make other two gathering rows here and gather the fabric a little bit. And I already cut my elastic. I just measure around my ankle to see how wide I wanted it to be, and just make sure that it's not too tight on you because we don't want it to be uncomfortable. And here I have the cuff. I will have to reduce the width because my elastic isn't as wide. I'm going to prepare this as well. And for the straps, I just cut two rectangles. They're 10 by 45 centimeters, and I'll just close them. Okay, so let me show you what I did here. Basically, I have my two straps ready here. I sewed them together on one of the sides. You know that I left this side with this little curve. So I placed them one on top of the other just to hold them together. And here I have my cuff. What I'm going to do is I made some notches on the center. And I'm going to place this from the center down, close it up, and I'm going to sew here. Now that I've sewn this, I'm going to fold it like this. And I'm basically going to close it all around, leaving a small opening because that's where we're going to guide the elastic through. So I'm going to start here, back stitch, and go all around with my machine. I think I'm going to stop there. I left this opening, and now I can guide my elastic through. Okay, so I just pulled both edges of the elastic after guiding it through the cuff, and I'm going to sew them together, maybe like this. And I'm actually going to do a zigzag stitch. And once that's done, I can close the rest of the opening. Okay, so I know right now it might make no sense, but this is the front of the pant. I have one of my cuffs ready, and I prepared the other one so I can attach it here. This is how it looks. It's fully closed here with the elastic inside and my straps sewn on one of the sides. And as you remember, I told you I was going to gather some of this with some gathering stitches, and that's what I did. And that'll just help me attach the cuff a lot easier. I just have to make sure that the straps are facing the inside because we're going to pull them over to the other side and tie them there. Okay, so it's kind of hard to see here, but I just pinned it all around, and I'm going to sew it with a straight stitch all around while I stretch the elastic. And now your pants should be fully ready. Just look how flowy they are, and look at the cuffs. I really like how they look. I also tried them on, and I basically just get them over my ankle like this and just tie a bow on the side. And I also do the same with the other side, and they look so cute. Now I just have to try them on and show you how it looks. And just look at the final results. I honestly couldn't be happier with how they fit, how they feel, how they look. They're perfect. They're exactly the idea that I had in my head. As I said, I've been loving these types of pants for the longest time, but now I think I'm going to be wearing them all the time. I may even make more for myself. I really think that these without the bows would also look really, really cute, and even with a really wide hem. I'm so happy that I selected it to be a low waist pant. I think those flatter me the most, at least that's what I think. But you could also make them mid-rise or high-waisted. And guys, please don't forget that you could also try out this pattern for yourself. And if you've never used Aiclo before, your first 2 pattern downloads are completely free. So make sure to check it out. And honestly, honestly, this is one of those patterns that I would definitely recommend if you want to try out Aiclo. I just loved it. I think it's so fun to sew. It's a nice challenge without being really, really difficult to sew. And you can make the pattern in just a couple of seconds. Honestly, nothing beats that. And just look how it looks on the avatar and look how it looks on me. It's practically the exact same. So definitely check it out for yourself. You guys, I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.